Greetings everyone, T-Strats here, and first off I'd like to thank everyone who joined me this past Sunday for the Last of Us Day. It was a huge event, so many people showed up, and I just want to first off to say thank you so much for that. Now today I want to talk about three things: the good, the bad, and the unspoken aspects of the Last of Us Day. So we're going to start off with the positive things, the good. First off, it was an incredible turnout. It brought everyone together. We're talking artists, virtual photographers, streamers, musicians, factions players. It brought every aspect and every facet of the community together, and it was so cool to see that throughout the day. The second thing that I wanted to talk about is the Last of Us Part 2 Covers and Rarities album is really, really good. I streamed it on Spotify yesterday, and I was just kind of blown away at just such a great job they did on that. Shout out to both Troy and Ashley and Sony and Naughty Dog for making that happen. A really, really good album. The third thing I want to talk about is Naughty Dog was very active on social media on The Last of Us Day. They graciously recognized both loyal and passionate streamers, content creators, and artists, and I was one of those people that received a retweet by them, and it's something that I'm incredibly humbled and honored by, and I don't take lightly. And it was just really cool to see them interact with their community like that, and it's something that definitely needs to be highlighted and recognized. So huge thumbs up to Naughty Dog for doing that. The fourth thing, Naughty Dog devs, their multiplayer devs, graciously took time out of their weekend, a Sunday, to publicly play factions with myself, other friends, and other content creators, and answered as many questions as best they could within the scope of their very strict NDA. These guys are incredibly passionate about factions, and to have them come out and play with us and to say the things they did about the game in its current state and what they're looking forward to sharing with us was really special and unique, especially when Vinith at the end said that they really can't wait to show us what they've been working on and that they really think we're going to love it. And to hear that from him, the game's director himself, is just, for me, really, really special. So props to them for that. The next thing that I want to talk about was the return of Nick A30. Now, when I polled people, I said, who would you like to have back? Nick A won by a landslide, 45%, way ahead of everyone else. And huge shout out to him for taking the time to come out and play with us. I mean, he is a huge, huge streamer now, and for him to come back on Last of Us Day and play, for me, it was just a really, really special honor. And regardless about how you feel about Nick A, it is really good for our community to get streamers like this back into the community and playing the game that we love. And Nick loves this game, and I think if you watched his live stream, you could see he loves it still very, very much. And then the last thing is Neil. At the very end of the day, they closed it out with a huge bang. The first look at the HBO show, the photo is phenomenal. It instantly went viral on the internet, and it was just such a great way to end the day. So thank you, Neil, for sharing this awesome photo. So great to get a first look at Joel and Ellie. Now on to the bad. And there are definitely some bad aspects of The Last of Us Day. The first thing is the merchandise was nearly all the reveals and surprises. And you know, it's okay if you present your event as an event where you're going to be putting exclusive Last of Us merchandise out for fans, exclusive high-end merchandise. I think that is totally okay. I think that is actually great. It's a good thing. But if you present your event as a community event, then, and the majority of what you get is merchandise, then you kind of have a problem a bit, as I feel most people will feel like the only reason they're really there is to buy stuff, and that can leave a really, really negative taste in people's mouths. So that was the one thing that first off, I think needs to kind of be talked about and addressed, is when the reveals and surprises are just mostly merchandise. Yes, they had the album that you could stream, like you didn't have to buy. That was awesome. That was cool. And there was some fan art and there was some cosplays. But when the vast majority of the reveals is merchandise, then that can make people feel that they're there just for their money, and that's not a good feeling to have. The other thing is there was no PSN theme or avatars or other add-ons, which I know is not usually one of the most major aspects of The Last of Us Day, but we've pretty much gotten something along those lines in each year heading up to this. So that for me was kind of a notable aspect, like absence. There was literally no kind of Sony PlayStation downloadable content that had been kind of a staple for past years. So that was a bit of a bad. Now on to the next one, teasing the word content and then drawing it out until 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's 1 a.m. in the UK. And I know several people who live in the UK who stayed up all the way until that final note. And with having them doing that and have it be a very sincere note and a well-written note, but when you get down to it, not really having a whole lot of oomph and not having a whole lot of really any content in it other than what things that we knew that they were already working on it. That was difficult, I think, for a lot of people. That was really, really difficult. And once again, I think some of this is just because of that word content. When they had already released some merchandise and said, we're going to have some content on Sunday, I think that kind of played a little bit with people's minds on what to actually expect on that day. The last bad that I want to talk about, which I think a lot of people know as this sad, sappy music plays right now in the background, is no new multiplayer update after 2 years. It's still, they're working on it. And that's why, again, going back to what the good was, hearing from Vinith, it was so great hearing from Vinith, from the game director himself, saying, hey, you guys, I understand your disappointment that you've been waiting a very long time on this. We're making something very special for you guys, and it'll be here eventually. Thank you so much for your patience, and shout out to them for that. That was just good on them for taking the time to talk with us personally live and kind of lay that out there. The devs really crushed it on this event. I honestly feel that. So now that takes us to the last aspect, the unspoken. What are the unspoken aspects of The Last of Us Day? For me, the main thing that I think should be discussed and kind of thought about is this event, while it initially started off as kind of a smaller gimmicky event, has grown into something much, much bigger. And I am not envious of the Naughty Dog communications team and their devs for this event on this day, because it's really kind of grown out of control, like the expectations, and that is really tough for them. However, the event in its current state kind of has the potential, and I've seen it from all the very negative responses that you could see on that day from different facets, is it has the potential to damage relations between the Sony Naughty Dog team and its player base. And that's something that we don't want. And players don't want to feel that. And I know Naughty Dog and Sony doesn't want that. So the event needs to be tweaked a bit to be able to improve relations between Naughty Dog and its players, not damage it. So not just on The Last of Us Day, but also I think generally in life, don't focus on the one thing you don't have. I think, Naughty Dog didn't do itself a favor by teasing that content word and putting people's expectations way out there. Because I didn't think we were going to get a major game announcement. I've been saying this ever since, the PlayStation Showcase. When we didn't get it there, I said, okay, this is bad news for me. I don't think it's happening this year. Because Sony won't announce a major game on a Sunday fan event. It's just not going to happen. And once again, that goes to managing expectations in event language. I think, people had every right to get excited about hearing something, maybe not an announcement, but maybe a really thorough update. And that didn't happen. And again, on Naughty Dog, they need to really be careful about that event language, about teasing some content on Sunday, or waiting until 5 p.m. for a new special thing, only to have it be like, hey, we're still working on it. And that kind of goes to my final point, which a user on Reddit posted this, and I said, this is a great attitude. This is an absolutely great attitude, and I think more people should hear this, is hype. I'd much rather be hyped and then disappointed than to be cynical and validated. And that's how I approached this event. Even before I knew that they were having the Sunday content thing, I had already planned the faction stuff. I wanted to honor the faction people this year. I wanted people to get hyped. Yeah, we could possibly be disappointed, and many of us were, but ultimately, I'd much rather stay hyped. So what we can do going forward, we're going to talk, we're going to laugh, and we're going to play some factions. So that's all I have to say about this event today. And once again, I appreciate everyone who showed up, and we're going to do the same thing again next year. And thank you guys for your love of The Last of Us. All right. With that having been said, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll catch you all soon. Cheers.